So, in one of my earlier videos, I talked about the possibility of Disney leaving EA and what other developers they could go to. So, I decided to follow up after I thought about it and said, what would be some good developers that Disney can work with? And while some on this list may be first party companies to either Sony or Nintendo or whatever, I feel they would probably provide the best opportunities for both the company and for Disney to be able to provide good quality games in the near future. So here's my top 10 list of the top 10 developers that could work with Disney on Star Wars. So to start off our list, coming in at number 11, I know this is the top 10, but I just couldn't leave this one out, and probably because I, never passed first grade math. Is Retro Studios. For those that aren't familiar with Retro Studios, they made the ever popular Metroid Prime series. They're work with Nintendo quite closely, but I can definitely see some of the older games, sort of like the Dark Forces, the Shadows of the Empire, kind of a first-person shooter Star Wars game back in the ilk of those days. See something definitely on the Han Solo or a Stormtrooper level where it's first person. Now, granted, we had that with Battlefront, but something with a little bit more story. Uh, from beginning to end, not necessarily having to do uh, the whole microtransactions and everybody having to fight each other, and as a huge groups and networked and battle, but a good first person shoot 'em up. And I think if you looked at the Metro Prime series, you could definitely modify that into the Star Wars universe. And who better to do that than the Retro Studios? So we're actually at number 10 now. I know, Dad. I am actually able to count to 10. Aren't you proud of me? Well, I'm looking at Blue Point Studios. Now, they haven't really created their own game, but they've actually done quite a good job doing some of the most recent remakes. In fact, the most recent Shadow of the Colossus is considered a very good remake. And I think a year or two before, they did the entire Uncharted trilogy remake for the PS4. So far, I haven't seen these guys do anything wrong. They have at least four games under their belt. They know the PS4 hardware very well. Uh, so I think, if you took their talent and moved it to Star Wars universe, I think they could come out with something pretty good. There's nothing better than a nice young developer being given the chance and the opportunity to work with something as big, as immense as the Star Wars universe and knock something right out of the park. I think these guys can do it. So coming in at number 9 would be Insomniac Games. Now, for those that aren't familiar with Insomniac Games, shame on you. They've been around for a few decades now, with starting off with the incredibly good Spiral the Dragon series, the first three, and they've moved on to other things like the infamous games, as well as Sunset Overdrive and the upcoming Spider-Man. And I don't think I've ever seen a bad game come from this developer. Uh, they've worked both on the PlayStation hardware, from Gen 1 to the Xbox hardware, and everything I've seen has been top notch, graphics wise, gameplay wise. They're pretty much all platformers, and they've learned how to really do good work. Now, in the Star Wars universe, obviously, can you see a Jedi running around, jumping around? I honestly don't know, but I honestly think they could take, um, the Star Wars universe and make a good quality game, just like anybody else. So that's my thoughts on that. So coming in at number 8, we have Platinum Games, and they have a smaller history of games under their belt. But any developer where they have a number of games that have scored top tens um, in numerous websites, as a developer, I want to see make Star Wars game in my book. Most recently, they've gotten scored a top 10 on Bayonetta 2 for the Nintendo Switch and the Wii U. Granted, the Wii U didn't really sell very many copies, but yeah, putting it on the Switch has brought it back to life a little bit. But like I said, any developer that scores a perfect 10, you can easily do a very good game in the Star Wars universe. They do very well on over-the-shoulder shooters. You can easily do that. In in the battle front games or in any other series, for that matter. Make yourself a stormtrooper or make yourself part of the rebellion and fight numerous battles. But I definitely think this Platinum Games could do something in the Star Wars universe very well. So at number seven, I'm gonna take a change of pace and put in my vote for NetherRealm Studios. Now, for those not familiar with NetherRealm, they make the incredibly fun and gory Mortal Kombat games as well as the Injustice games. And these are a lot of guys who worked on Mortal Kombat for many years over at Midway. Now, do I want to see a Star Wars game where heads are cut off and arms are ripped and everything? While that may sound quite appealing, I just think you could definitely make a fighting game worthwhile. And these guys have known to do well with both Mortal Kombat property as well as the DC property. I have a lot of fun playing both Injustice 1 and 2 as well as the Mortal Kombat games. And I know Star Wars tried before 20 years ago with Masters of Terra Kasai. Yeah, that game was absolute crap. Um, but it's been 20 years. Let's try it again. It was PS1. You had a developer that didn't know what they were doing. NetherRealm knows what they're doing. They've been making fighting games for over 20 years, almost 25 years. Um, let's try it again, guys. And I'm pretty sure you can have a fighting game that's just absolutely awesome with these guys. So, coming in at number six, I think everybody kind of knows this developer, but Rocksteady. They've put their name on the map with the ever famous Batman Arkham games. We all know that Arkham Asylum was an excellent game, and Arkham City was an even better game. And despite what your thoughts are about Arkham Knight, it was still a very good and serviceable game. So, with those three, I think Rocksteady definitely deserves a shot at the Star Wars universe. Um, they could definitely do something on maybe not on the main storyline, but something that's off to the side where you're, you know, uh, a rookie galactic enforcer that maybe has control of the Force or something, but he's trying to get a better understanding of what's going on in the underworlds of the Star Wars universe. And I mean, and he turns into a powerful Jedi or a Sith. Who knows? But I think these guys definitely have the ability and storytelling prowess to make a very good Star Wars game here. So coming in at number five, was there ever any doubt? The folks at Kojima Productions. Think it's safe to say that over the past 20 or 30 years that Kojima has proved himself to be, quite out there and quite honestly, batshit crazy. Um, I think there would be nothing better pairing of the Star Wars universe than you take the Star Wars universe and the Force, and then you take Hideo Kojima's uh, genius storytelling and putting those two together. I think they could put together one of the most crazy out there but satisfying stories in the Star Wars universe. Something that gamers would constantly question and wonder what the hell's going on, but at the same time they would enjoy it forevermore. I would definitely like to see these two together. So as we get close to the end of the list here, I want to bring in Telltale Games. I'm a big fan of the Walking Dead series that they've produced over the past few years, as well as some of their other games, including Game of Thrones, Batman, um, a Wolf Among Us, and even the Back to the Future series. I think these guys, whether or not you consider them actual games or just quick time events, I think they actually bring a little bit of a nuance to the games that we don't normally see. There's something small, contained, something you can play each episode within a couple of hours. I think this would be perfect in the Star Wars universe. even in the main storyline as Luke Skywalker or Han Solo or Leia, as long as she's not floating in outer space. But you could do something here, and I think Telltale would be perfect for it. Okay, so here at number three, we have Criterion Games. Now we're talking. This is coming from memories of playing Burnout 3 and Burnout Revenge for hours and hours on end. And I can only see replacing the cars with pod racers or with speeders or or any of the Star Wars spaceships just zipping around corners, in and out of space through asteroid field. I mean, this would just be flat out awesome. I mean, granted, what you think about the prequels, Episode One, the pod racer scene was pretty cool, and seeing them zip around was just very intense. And I actually enjoyed the pod racer game on the Nintendo 64, and actually at the arcades. I definitely see, if Criterion could have their hands on this series, it would be an incredible, incredible game, especially with the crashes as you see all the pieces fly apart. Oh man, I would actually be truly excited. I'd buy this day one. So here we are. So this was difficult between the final two, but number two is going to be Square Enix. Um, these guys are masters at the RPG genre, as well. They've made some very good games in the action adventure series. So, in all honesty, they could do either one. I'd be perfectly fine with. On the RPG side, they've done Final Fantasy games. I could easily see a Final Fantasy slash Star Wars type of game, where you're a group of Jedi or a group, going from planet to planet, trying to, rid the world of evil. Um, or I can see an action RPG game, or just an action game, on a level of Sleeping Dogs and or Tomb Raider. Those games have been incredibly fun to play over the past few years, and I think Square Enix and Star Wars could definitely be a match made in heaven. Okay, so at number one, and yes, I am showing full bias here, and that would be Naughty Dog. I'll have to admit, a few years ago when I saw the preview for Star Wars 1313, I literally flipped my shit. I mean, all I saw was Star Wars and Uncharted put together, and I thought that was the best of both worlds. Um, Now, granted, I wasn't exactly sure who the developer of that was at the time, and hearing it being canceled just broke my heart. But if you could bring that title back together, or just bring these two together, I think it would be just phenomenal. I am a huge fan of the Jack and Daxter series. I didn't play Crash Bandicoot, but I did play all of the Uncharted series, one through four, and the Lost Legacy, as well as the one on the Vita. Um, and I have never been disappointed by any of them. And granted, they're pretty much all the same game. I definitely see we could see something here with the Star Wars universe, where you're playing a bounty hunter or scoundrel, or if you will, um, and it would definitely be a fun game. Going to different planets and seeing nice lush environments. So that right there is my number one choice um, for the developer to work with the Star Wars universe. So there you have it. Those are my top 10 or 11 if you're really counting, of developers that I feel could work with the Star Wars universe. Now, it's obvious I've left some of the, more popular developers out there, the Blizzards and the Capcoms and the BioWares. Um, I didn't want to include those because those are still handled by the big overlord oppressors like Ubisoft and Activision. I kind of wanted to deal with developers that weren't hampered or living in a world of microtransactions. I could be fully wrong here, but anyway, how did you think my list was? Did you feel it was too biased? Well, obviously it was because it's my list. I mean, but what did you think would be good developers to work with? Did I miss some? Um, Obviously there's a lot of developers out there. I try to come up whittle them down to 10 or 11, but you know that's why they come up with these lists. So anyway, post your thoughts or comments down below. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you'd like to see future videos where I provide lists providing my obviously skewed commentary, hit the subscribe button. And I'll be posting more videos with my rants, ravings, and comments in the future. So, talk to you guys later. Peace.